If you look back at football, before they let black people play in America, American football, everybody wore suits to the game. They were very well mannered. It was a big event. It was sacred. They were going to watch their boys fight it out. They were going to watch masculinity, an exhibit of extreme masculinity, which they knew was very necessary to keep the society running. And they dressed up very nice to show respect for it because they had respect for it. It was their community. And then they introduced black people into it, and it fragmented the community because no longer was it their boys. It was black people doing the running back, and it wasn't their guys anymore. And they still went because it's fun to watch that kind of extreme masculinity, but they don't have the respect for it that they did when it was just the white community, when it was just one solid community, and people started painting their faces and acting like, the black people get in trouble for unsportsmanlike conduct all the time because they have different rules of behavior. And so and then those rules of their behavior, celebrating and all this stuff, has gone into the stands, and people are no longer respectful about the sport, and it's all become about money, and that's what's happened. And if you look at music, back in the 40s, 50s, music, white people's music was very, there wasn't a lot of overt sexuality in it. It was centered around being just beautiful sounds, and the lyrics were about love and caring. And what happened? Well, the Elvis Presley and the Rolling Stones, who were very influenced by black people and black music, they brought this sexualized rock and roll. And has that done us any good? Has that really been a help? Or has it started to erode the very fabric of, respect? Because what it's done is it's fragmented the white community and brought this kind of basic sexual attitude into everyday life that white people used to keep very calm and to themselves. And that was something that was for private and not to be done publicly. And because of that, you had a certain public attitude of respect and dignity that helped to move the whole society forward. And then you had you kept your sexuality at home. That was something that was private and not talked about because it's very messy. And if you don't have it out in public, it keeps that mess from being part of this public sphere, and then it operates better. Now, has there been some good also from learning our sexuality and getting to experiment with, not feeling guilty about experimenting with all sorts of things? Maybe, but we need to look at all the aspects, the damage it's done and the good things. In our public schools, when they were all just white schools and then black schools separate, the black schools never did any good, and they don't now, even if they have money. But the white schools, when they were just white, were really wonderful, and they would build beautiful church. They looked like temples, and it was a temple of knowledge because that was their community, their kids, and they felt like one community. When they interjected black kids into it, it was no longer theirs, because you can say what you want, the two communities have not integrated, and that shattered the whole thing. And that's really the problem with public education in America, is that we integrated the schools when we haven't integrated the society, and it fragmented the community spirit. And now the schools don't function well, and they're not a very happy place to go. And you talk about all these school shooters and everything, and it's funny how it happens at schools all the time. We should look at all of these things and start talking honestly, no matter where it takes us, and find the truth, because that's the only thing, honestly, that's going to set us free.